Okay, so what we're going to do now is I want you to grab your exercise book and I want you to grab a pen. I want you to write a date and a title and draw a margin. And then I want you to pause this video and restart when you're done. Okay, I'm assuming that you've done that. So the first example that I'm going to have a look at, so this is example 1. I'm going to have a look at 14.2 multiplied by 2.4. And my solution, which I'm going to write like that, I'm actually going to do 142 multiplied by 24. In other words, I'm going to imagine that the decimal points aren't actually there. Okay. Now you might have seen this before, but this is what I call Chinese multiplication. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little grid. And I'm going to make it 3 by 2. And I'm going to make it 3 by 2 because I'm going to put 1, 4, 2 across the top. I'm going to put 24 down the side, and I'm going to work out what 142 multiplied by 24 is. But I can make this simpler. I'm going to draw a diagonal across each one of these boxes, and I'm going to say 2 times 2 is 0 tens and 4 units. 2 4s are 0 tens and 8 units. 4 2s, 0 tens, 8 units. 4 4s are 16. 1 2s are 0 tens and 2 units, and 0 and 4 in here. So those diagonal boxes switch the they tell you the difference between the tens and the units. Now what we do is we have a look at the diagonals. So in this diagonal here is an 8, so I write down an 8. In this diagonal here, okay, is 6, 0 and 4, which is 10. So I write down the 0 and I carry the 1. Now in this column here, the next one, in this diagonal rather, okay, I've got a 1, 4, a 1, an 8 and a 0. So that's 12, 13, 14. Put down the 4, carry the 1. And so in this column here, I've got a 1, a 2, a 0 and a 0. So that's 3. And what I've been able to do here, I just read along here and write down the answer. So my answer to 142 multiplied by 24 is simply 3,408. But 142 times by 24 was not the question I asked. The question I asked was, what's 14.2 take away multiplied by 2.4? And hopefully you'll notice in the question there are 1, 2 numbers after the decimal place, and because of that there need to be 2 decimal places, 2 numbers after the decimal place in my answer. So 14.2 multiplied by 2.4 equals 34.08, and that's my answer. Now the next one that I'm going to do is very similar. So my question is going to be 0.0035 multiplied by 0.02. And here's going to be my solution. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do 35 multiplied by 2. Okay? And hopefully you all know that 35 times by 2 is 70. But what I need here is, can you see in my question, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers after the decimal point. Okay? Here are 2 of them. Okay? So my answer is 0.00 note, and that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I don't actually need that last 0, but so my answer is 0.00007. Okay? Okay, so I'm now going to have a look at a division, and the division that we're going to have a look at is 206.18, and I'm going to divide by 0.013. And initially you might think that this is going to look quite hard, but what we're going to do is we're going to treat it as a fraction. So here's my solution. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write it as a fraction. So I've got 206.18 divided by 0.013. Now, can you see that this number has 2 numbers after the decimal point, but this one has 3 numbers after the decimal point? So what I'm going to do is, because 1,000 has 3 zeros in it, I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 1,000, and that will get rid of my decimals. So if I multiply the top by 1,000, I get 206.180. So that's what I would get if I multiply the numerator by 1,000. Now the bottom, I'm going to multiply this by 1,000, and I simply get 13. Now this isn't the best example in the world, because if 206,180 isn't a multiple of 3, I've got a bit of a problem. Isn't a multiple of 13 rather. It is, and it goes in 15,860 times. Okay, so quite a difficult one when it comes to division. You can of course do this with long division if you wish, or you could try it with short division, but it's going to be very hard. So if I wanted to do it by short division, I wouldn't do this by short division, I would do this one. Okay, so I could do 206,180 divided by 13. Okay, so 13 into 20 goes once. Okay, and I've got 7 left over. So 13 into 76 goes 5, and 5 13s are 65. So I've got 11 left over. So that makes 111. So how many 13s are there? 111. There's 8, and 8 13s are 104. So I've got 7 left over. How many 13s in 78? And that's exactly 6. And then I've got nothing left. So it becomes 15,860. What I wouldn't try and do though is I wouldn't try to do anything with this. What I would do is multiply by a suitable power of 10. So in this case I multiply top and bottom by 1,000. I would multiply by enough zeros to make sure that all my decimals have gone. And then if you can't cancel this down, if you don't know how, then do short division. Okay? Okay, so for this video, that is about it. What you're going to do in the lesson tomorrow is you're going to do exercise 2.3 on page 30 in your textbooks. So what I'd like you to do when you come into the lesson tomorrow, I want you to get your things out, get your books out, have any questions ready for me to answer. I shouldn't be asking you to get on with some work tomorrow. This is what you're doing tomorrow, okay? Write this in your book now, so tomorrow when you come to the lesson, you can open your book, you'll know it's exercise 2.3 on page 30, and you can have a go at some of the questions, okay?